ni dah dekat saya dengan upstream downstream ni dah about dekat 4 years. Before that, I was with Petronas for over 20 years. And after Petronas, I was with DuPont, the US company, for about 7-8 years. Yeah. So after retiring from DuPont, then I joined UDPS as the consultant advisor and looking for innovation. Yeah. Okay, that's a bit of my background. Boleh dengar semua Boleh
Loud and clear.
Okay, I just nak make sure because bukan dekat office ni, dekat luar daripada UiTM tadi I keluar tadi. So, okay, let's look at the slides. Of course, we are going to talk about the oil and gas industry issues. That's what we are here to discuss, and it's good to have the faculty of R&D research that are interested in the oil and gas industry. Because oil and gas industry ni is like a yo-yo. It's a very challenging punya industry, especially given for the past 7 years. Yeah. Before I start the slide number 2 ni, I just want to do a little bit of background about oil and gas industry. For mostly you have already known about it. Di mana for the past 7 years, the oil industry has been facing challenges, both on supply demand, the pricing, and environmental footprint. These are the 3 primary issues for the past 7 years since 2015. If all of you can remember, at one time the oil price crashed right up to $30 per barrel, which is a very big disaster for oil and gas companies, the major companies, and even the small companies, SME like us, because it's a chain reaction to everybody, from the majors right up to the first tier, second tier, and to us. Yeah. And then it doesn't help. Then the pandemic came in, so another challenge. All contracts were hold, cancel, or change, and some companies have to be fold. Jadi there's a lot of challenges oil and gas and company is facing. And now coming into an endemic stage, things inshallah is picking up. Yeah. Now a little bit background about UDPS. Kalau if it goes to the second slide, we are a company that provide basically services. Yeah. Very technical support services, specialties. And if you look at the map across West Malaysia, we are supporting and working on enhancement oil recovery support and services. We also have integrated mercury Tenom support services. We also do plant maintenance, waste management services. And also the big one that we are doing SKO, SBO is Sabah Sarawak punya block for Petronas and Group is the integrity chemical supply and also surveillance. And everything is talking about enhanced oil recovery, recovering more oil, and then the challenges of all these particles and purities inside the oil. Yeah, this is the challenges that the big major oil companies are facing. So we are the company that provide all these specialty support services. For the past, if I'm not mistaken, dah dekat 17 years we've been in this industry. Yeah, working with Petronas, Exxon, Repsol, all the multinational. Yeah. So far, I stop dulu. Ada question ke? Okay. Any question before I go on?
Any questions? Nanti boleh terus je lah tanya ya.
Terus je lah. So I run through je.
Cik Anil, mungkin ada request nak tengok muka Cik Anil lah.
Oh, ya ke? Nanti juga.
Mungkin dekat luar tapi tak kenal lah juga orang dia.
Okey. Nanti kejap nak tekan ni.
Okey.
Okay, alright. Okay. Ini sebenarnya apa? Super warga emas.
Masa hitam.
Dah. Super warga emas lah. Ya. Alhamdulillah sehat lagi lah. Allah tu berkat kita sehat. Ya. Okay, looking at the challenges ni. Now, if you look at the slide of challenges are all like PowerPoints, which is what I did was straight to the point. Some people can talk challenges in terms of long statements, but for me, the challenges are right in front of us. Rising global demand, more energy at lower cost with less emission. That's a big challenge because emission release, carbon, whatever particles that you have is a big challenge in the world. And even all the, not only NGOs, WHO, everybody is making noise about all these emissions. And these emissions is related all to our cars, auto industry, all the big industries are releasing that. Looking at China, Japan, US, these are all emission countries releasing, but they are all keeping quiet about it. Yeah, this is a big challenge. How to lower costs with less emission. So it's not only challenging for the big IOC ataupun independent oil companies or NOC national oil, but also for us at the second tier company, first tier to support in helping out these big companies to reduce emissions. Yeah. Then we have volatile prices, high investment annually to keep up with the demand. So prices are up and down. I think today the Brent price is about 115, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, is range 115, 118. So everybody in the industry is now rushing to get the oils out, produce the oil, because the price is very favorable right now. Yeah. And the next one is sustainable cost to demonstrate differential and durable cash flow. This has been a challenge for not only on the oil majors, but for a lot of first tier, second tier SME companies. Why do I say that? Because in the backdrop of the pandemic of 2 years, there's a lot of contracts being told, cancelled, or just disappear. Things, and a lot of companies have closed down. So in order for them to recover and have the proper cash flow to be involved in this investment is a big challenge as of now. Because now there's a lot of projects coming out, but there is a lot of capital investment required, new equipment required. You need the big cash flow in that this. So there's a lot of borrowings and syndicated loans happening right now, yeah, in this current situation. Next one, optimizing the industrial based asset, improving performance to ensure valorization of all the assets. So assets could be anything. It could be even your land, your equipment, your big vacuums, your warehouses, for offshore, the platforms, everything is a big asset. And assets have depreciation. That's another challenge for the oil and gas companies right now, depreciation value. Yeah? Then we look at multitask competency, maximizing energy utilization. Multitask competency is related mostly to manpower. If you look at manpower, apart from energy, now oil and gas company, when they require for an executive to work in a company, you have certain skills, but you need to have multi-skills, right? Mechanical engineers need to have some exposure in chemical, electrical, other services. So they have to be really flexible. There must be some agility for this new manpower because there is no specific manpower for specific tasks anymore. And currently with a lot of situation where manpower has been a big issue right now, multitasking, because there's a lot of manpower pinching. Everybody project is starting, so we are losing a lot of people. Other companies are pinching and offering, and there's not many coming in with experience. So this is another big challenge. The other one is environmental footprint. This is the stringent standards that are coming in. Even Petronas is putting a lot of standards, other oil and gas company, the government, the environmental industries, they are pushing for this because of this footprint. And even in the sea, dekat laut tu, because the eco-marine punya issues. A lot of drilling, a lot of chemicals in the sea, so there's a lot of stringent regulations coming up. These are the challenges that oil and gas company are talking about, because the more stringent it becomes, the more costly it is for the company. The companies such as UDPS will have to invest more in order to meet that requirement, the new standards and requirement. So that's why I stress a lot on challenges on these few points. That is for the oil and gas company, especially for us as SME company. Yeah? Okay. I think that's quite elaborate enough. Everybody knows about these challenges right now, but that was more detailed, a little bit more detailed and specific that we did. Then we look at
Encik ni boleh saya tanya on the
Hmm.
environmental footprint, can you elaborate more? What are the issues?
one of the biggest environmental footprint is dia punya emissions,
Emissions.
carbon. Yes. Sekarang ni everybody is talking about reducing costs, and why not we look into, I don't know, we were thinking about R&D, specific R&D in order to minimize these emissions. In the industry, big industry, even the coal industry is having emissions, oil and gas industry emissions, the car, the pollution. These are the biggest concern that the environmental footprint has right now. Because it's about clean air in the end of the day, kan? It's about having clean air. And it's about eco and life, bio-based things. So I have done a lot of search lah, R&D on this emission. I don't see it much. I don't see new technology, even new solutions, somebody coming up with papers or written journals, even in the Harvard punya tu I research, tengok I tak ada lagi. So this instead of looking at environmental footprint, we should go into research of how to reduce these footprint issues. Kan? That's my view lah.
What about aquamarine related issues?
Because it's about waste.
Hmm.
Because you are talking waste on the sea, kadang-kadang we have all the standards and requirement, water release, dumping waste. So can you imagine all the big barges are going into the sea, in the ocean, 200 kilometers away, the platform is there. So sometimes there's a lot of people that ask what they are dumping in there, what's being released, nobody knows, right? So that is another concern of the environment. And then you're talking about eco-marine, basically it's about life of the eco-marine, fisheries. Yeah? And then polluted, macam all this fire on the platform, what happened to the ocean, banyak-banyak. Some of them has been hidden. Yeah. Biasalah, big oil companies will try to hide these little things. I mean, it comes out in Reuters and all Bloomberg report, but then the real issues have been hidden. Macam happen dekat Macondo, New Orleans and all that, kan? So they found out it affects the community for the next 10-15 years in terms of that. So that's what we meant by the footprint on the area lah. Yeah. Can I go?
Chinese, can I add a bit? I
Boleh,
think my
boleh.
sound dah okay kot. Alright.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, Prof. I think you mentioned about eco apa tadi?
Marine.
Marine.
Kan? Okay. Generally, let me. I'm really sorry because my audio having problem. Let me brief about myself a bit. Yeah. I'm working with my name is Ahmad Komarul Laili bin Abu. I've been with oil and gas, I think it's about 30 years. Before having UDPS, I'm working with Exxon Mobil for 10 years as an operation. And I'm joined local company, Terengganu Energy. Those days we call it Perintis, the first local company having floating facilities. We call it FPSO, floating production storage oil. Yeah, and then after that, resigned, joined another chemical international company, Champion Technologies, related to chemical supply support. Yeah. Then after that, decided to have UDPS. Okay, thanks, Chainil. Okay, just my point on the eco marine. Yes, right now industry have system, yeah, how to manage all the byproduct waste, even the what do you call it, the flaring system. But then still have a lot of what do you call it, still not meeting the real spec. Yes, and an example right now on the flaring, they not be able to have zero or even 99%. What do you call it? product. Yeah, so they still have to flare a bit. Yeah, but better if you still look this an opportunity, as China mentioned just now, this is another area where you all can explore actually. Yeah, so other than byproduct on process, yeah, processing all the liquid, yeah, they still have to dump most of the what do you call it byproduct. Even right now, because at the end of the day, the production is water. Yeah, so over the year, the amount of oil lesser and lesser, you will getting more water instead of oil, because every barrel you produce, actually you need to replace with the water to maintain the reservoir pressure. But having that, you actually also dumping wastewater. So another big issue is basically the contamination of wastewater into the sea. Yeah. So an example right now, if you're into in Indonesia, there's one field where they only recover 5% out of 2 million barrel a day production. So the 95% of production goes to the sea. They only recover about 5% of the oil. So you just imagine how big the amount of contamination water. So there are an issue also actually for the industry and for the university to look into. I think that's just my point. Yeah, the additional point other than Chinese point. Continue, Chinese.
Okay. Now we go to the one of the major risk factor. We talk about challenges, and now we're talking about risk. Oil and gas company having big risks, whether first year company, major companies. One of the risks is that supply demand the next 5 years. Basically, why I say the next 5 years, because of the current global challenges that we have. Yeah, with the war right now dengan Russia and Ukraine, and then the instability in the Middle East, and China exerting its economic strength and power, and US is retaliating. So these geopolitical issues that is rising slowly but surely, it's going to affect supply and demand again. Yeah, US will start doing the stockpiling again in order to move the price, and Russia will release. So you're going to have this like a bouncing ball happening for this oil and gas supply demand. Then the next risk is new regulations and compliance is a threat. So it's not the world regulation and compliance. We have to understand regulatory comes from each country, each nation, trying to protect the national interests, protect their people, their economic survival. So sometimes they will have a lot of regulation and compliance. Yeah, and also regulation and compliance is also a very challenging situation where a company that provides services, or the oil and gas company that goes into that country, you will have to have another framework in order to comply with those regulation and compliance. And that framework has always incurs new additional costs, this regulation. And there are things that you can bring, some equipment you can use, some standards are required. So these are the things that will be some of the risk factors that we will be facing. Yeah. Then there's another one that dulu oil and gas never talk about this. Now we are talking about cyber security. Now, why is cyber security concerned dengan oil and gas? Yeah? Because there is a lot, millions and millions of very confidential, highly sensitive data in the oil and gas companies. Yeah. Basically, can you imagine if they are in one location or blocks or few blocks of a country, they will have all the data, whether seismic data, economic data, retrieval, sea, water, every data is with them. And this data is money. Data is valuable nowadays, especially with the IoTs. So cybersecurity is where people can hack into this data. And the people can hack is not the normal people. These are sometimes sophisticated and professional companies They're being hired to look into this data, to acquire the data, because it's about all competition. It's about who leads the technology, who has what it takes as a value to convince either an oil and gas company or a country that they are the best to do oil and gas punya exploration for that country or whatever. So cybersecurity is becoming a key issue. In fact, Petronas itself not only have their CEO in digital, they call it Chief Technological Officer, they also have someone now looking into cybersecurity of all the data. So it's becoming a new protection right now, security. Next, digital migration to overall business and operations. This takes a lot of time. Oil and gas companies, even they are migrating into more digital base even for the operation, the little downwards towards operation. Every little detail, information will go for digital. Now, the challenge here, one of the risks is the second tier smaller companies, which is not prepared to migrate digitally. Some companies that supports an all major company, as an example lah, kalau UDPS ni supporting Petronas, supporting Repsol ke whatever company kan. So these big companies are already being digital, but our company might not be fully digital inclined. So there is a mismatch about business and operation. And in order for companies to win major bids or tenders, they would like to see you have an integrated system. But for UDPS, we are already there. We are already in the digital mode, all the processes that we have right now. But there are many other SMEs that it has not migrated. Yeah, that's another risk. Now, why do I say a risk? If that company doesn't have any integrated system digital, an international company can just come in and bid and win the bid because they have a very integrated system. So any challenges for our local companies lah, what I'm saying. Okay, next. Mergers. These mergers because of cost, and in order, once they merge, because better shareholder values, then cost suppression for expense for small companies. Small company kena depress lah because of cost factor, because the big merger, they decide to merge because in order to create shareholder value, which all talks about the baseline cost. These are the big risks that we're looking at. Next one is NOC reflection on national and political as well as geographic, macam war. This is NOC ni, national oil companies. Sometimes we have to reflect the national agenda. We need to boost up production because why? It's revenue for the country, economics, well-being of the country. Whereas the prices is not stable, but we still have to produce more because the government say you have to produce more in order to help the government's revenue. So this is another risk factor, looking at the prices of the oil. But if the oil price is good, then we can pump up the production, that's fine. Yeah. And then there's about war. There's about geopolitical conflicts, embargoes, restriction. These are things happening that is a risk. And finally, an open border participation for oil and gas companies. So anyone from anywhere can participate in any projects in the country. It's open. Let's say for Malaysia, we are open to all international companies, licensed companies. They need to JV with local companies. But again, JV is JV, but they are open to coming into our countries. And this is where our local companies will face challenges, risk factors. Even in other countries will be the same also, unless they have that technology punya strength in their own local companies. Yeah. So that's the risk factor that we are highlighting, the challenges in the industry lah. Haji Kamarul, kalau ada apa-apa nak add lagi ke atau yang lain, Raja ke?
Okay. My point from me on the sustainability for especially the SME company, basically SME company nowadays need to be more vigilant and be more extra, be smarter on how at the end of the day they be able to offer the competitive solution to the industry, or else they may not relevant and they may not be able to compete into the open market like current situation. Yeah. So especially the new company, Yeah, if you don't have technology, you don't have a special product, you don't have special services. So you just imagine on how you would like to compete into the saturated market. Yeah, because oil and gas in Malaysia is considered mature market, and today you have surplus of a provider. So that make the competition more more tough for the SMB actually. Yeah, that's a bit point from me.
Any comments or question from the group on the major risks or other thing that you might want to share from UPM side? Anybody?
Okay, anyone? So what about let's say any intention from UDPS to venture into alternative energy? Yalah, sebab sekarang ni banyak juga kan regulations towards less emission tu tadi. So is there any plan to venture into alternative energy ke, green energy ke?
Actually, we just have it our business review early this year. Yeah, so one of the area where we need to we have discussed in detail, basically considering new sector for us to explore other than oil and gas. Yeah, so we have actually identified the renewable energy area where we would like to explore. Yeah. So antaranya solar and they found other example, but yet we yet to go in deep and further study, get the detailed info before we come in and expand our market into that sector.
Okay, ada soalan yang lain sebelum masuk sedikit teknikal lah. Yang ni baru secara umum ya. General challenges and risk factor in oil and gas industry.
I think you all need to look into the issues from the industry. Been researcher, been university for you all to basically able to help and to improve the condition. Yeah? An example, we just now mentioned about managing the waste. Yeah, it's one of the big issue actually. So if you all be able to really come in and come up with the solution on how to manage the waste efficiently, so that it will help the industry. It's same thing like emission. Yeah. Nowadays, everybody worldwide talking about replacing oil energy to other sector. Yeah. Why not instead of replacing, you find a technology on how to control and to manage the emission issues instead of replacing the product or replacing the oil energy, because at the end of the day, we will require more energy from time to time, so there will be no reduce. So generally, at the end of the day, you be able to really replace the oil and gas energy instead of other non hydrocarbon energy. Yeah, so that another challenge basically from industry to researcher. So
what about CO2? If there is any immediate need for CO2 capture or CO2, I don't know, technology to be converted into something valuable.
CO2 currently, Petronas still having challenges in managing CO2 because other than safety product, they not be able to really utilize the CO2 product. Yeah? So nowadays they have intent even to inject back into the reject reservoir instead of what do you call it, processing the CO2 product. Yeah, but in order to do that, they have to spend a lot of money, because injecting into the high pressure reservoir, it require a big capital. Yeah, so at the end of the day, now they have difficulty to really manage well having 70% and above CO2. Yeah, so there'll be another challenges. Maybe it's an opportunity for you also.
Rasanya kita teruskan. Kalau ada soalan mungkin daripada yang lain tak perlu tunggu end of session lah.
Yep, yep.
Ya, betul.
Okay, maybe process chemical, I'll hand it over to Raja kita, Raja Samsuri.
Mungkin Raja introduce a bit about yourself.
Pak ni rasa specialist present ni, Tuan Haji Kamarul.
Okay, let me share this. This is one of the product being offered by UDPS to the industry. We call it EOR, yeah, enhancement of oil recovery. So I think we know that every barrel of production of crude and gas recover, we need to replace with something else, yeah, to maintain the reservoir pressure. At the end of the day, to recover as much as possible oil and gas from the reservoir. So yes, we need to replace with something else, or else you will not get the production, because of if the reservoir pressure drop certain pressure, you will not be able to recover unless you have different technology, pump and so on, to recover the oil. If you rely on the natural pressure, then you need to maintain the reservoir pressure. Yeah. So in order to maintain the reservoir pressure, so the cheapest and the reliable, what do you call it, product is basically seawater, because you can simply, we have pool of seawater, you can easily get seawater from the nearby. So we use the seawater to basically maintain the reservoir pressure and to replace the oil. Generally, the challenges now is basically to meeting the water spec before we get to the reservoir. Yeah. So generally, you need to remove all the particle, the oxygen, the all the unwanted substance, yeah, the chlorine, the iron, and so on, the bacteria, yeah, because you need to meet the anaerobic environment and so on. Yeah. So the most challenging area is basically to remove the dissolved oxygen. You know that our water at certain level, it content of about 10 ppm, 10 ppm of dissolved oxygen, yeah, from the seawater level, certain water level. So to meet the threshold for the corrosion limit, you need to remove dissolved oxygen below 5 part per billion. 5 part per billion. Yeah. So generally, industry using the mechanical and chemical to remove the dissolved oxygen. Yeah. Currently, there's few technology. Antaranya adalah vacuum pump. Vacuum pump. They have also stripping technology, and they also what they call it Minox. Yeah. Using the nitrogen to remove the dissolved oxygen, but yet mechanically they not be able to get up to 5 ppb. Generally currently at 50 ppb. So from 10 ppm to 50 ppb. Then from 10 ppb, from 50 ppb to below 5 ppb, they need to use chemical to enhance and further remove the remaining dissolved oxygen from the water. So that's another challenge for the industry, because at the end of the day, as mentioned by Encik Ainil just now, it need to recover the oil with the low cost. Yeah. So this is the room actually for the university to look into. If we be able basically to come up with the technology on how to mechanically remove the dissolved oxygen without chemical, or the combination of technology, mechanical and chemical, with better what they call it, costing, with better of cost operation. So then there'll be an opportunity for basically you all to consider. Yeah. On top of that, if you be able to have the smaller or the compact facilities, because talking about offshore operation, the space is very expensive. Yeah. So you have smaller package, smaller facilities to remove or to take over the challenge, then you will be there. Even though your price a bit higher, but if you be able to small down the skid, compare again the current technology, then you will be there to consider. So that's one of the opportunity from our current support service to the industry. Other than that, we also having challenges on managing the waste. As mentioned earlier, one of our business is also providing the waste management, yeah, especially the H2S, mercury, and also tenom to the industry. This is the most of the waste from the oil and gas. Currently, there's no what they call it recycle processes being done. So most of the waste currently is sent back into quality alam for them to process, and generally they will dump into the land, Yeah. So that's from the waste management. Maybe Raja, you have additional to share on the mercury, on the H2S and tenom.
Okay, terima kasih Tuan Haji. So saya proceed untuk yang next issue. So ini yang teknologi yang Tuan Haji Kamarul ada present yang tadi, kaitan dengan vacuum deaerator, ya, untuk remove dissolved oxygen secara mechanical and also the chemical lah, and then also the Minox technology. So these are another issues that we are facing currently for upstream and downstream. So first of all, as we mentioned earlier, our services ini termasuk untuk hazmat services, which is kita buat mapping and also decontamination, especially untuk mercury, H2S, LEL gas ataupun hydrocarbon, and also the tenom. Tenom ni kalau dia punya panjang ni ialah technologically enhanced natural material organic. So yang ni lebih kepada yang ada radiation punya source lah. Okay. Jadi antara yang kita hadapi antaranya ialah bila kita discharge all the waste that contaminate dengan hazmat materials tadi tu to the effluent. So the effluent pond ni dia akan generate bau dan juga ada some reading lah at the open air. Contohnya dekat Petronas Penerbisa Melaka. So Petronas Penerbisa Melaka ada engage dengan some contractor on how kita boleh remove smell and also reading dekat effluent pond lah. Effluent pond ni adalah tempat semua waste akan dia buang di situ, and also nanti dia akan collect by quality alam for disposal lah, untuk dispose. So yang kedua, selain daripada cara manual untuk decon ataupun mapping, some client akan request kita buat decontamination secara online. Online ni means that sebelum kita buka any vessels ataupun tank, so kita perlu inject the chemical ataupun kita buat steaming. Inject ni untuk recirculation ataupun steaming, kita react dengan MPS, medium pressure steam, and that chemical can react dengan hazardous gas until kita achieve below PEL, permissible exposure limit, and then baru kita akan buka vessel untuk manual punya cleaning. So challenging sekarang ni, most of contractor ataupun vendor dia akan propose multiple chemicals lah, maknanya dia ada 2-3 jenis chemical. So ada chemical khusus untuk H2S, ada chemical khusus untuk mercury, ada chemical khusus untuk tenom, contoh radiate wash. Jadi banyak chemical lah. So bila banyak chemical, dia ada potensi akan affect pada integrity ataupun ada possible waste from chemical tu boleh bypass masuk kepada production line. Dan ini pernah berlaku lah dekat penapisan Terengganu. Dia punya waste daripada chemical ni tertinggal lah dalam production line dan akhirnya kena shutdown lah untuk clean, remove balik. Jadi kalau pihak UPM boleh do some research on chemical that can do for all the hazardous material. So maknanya kita just inject ataupun recirculation satu chemical sahaja instead of 2 ataupun 3 chemical. Okay. Sebab sekarang ni pun kalau dekat market untuk tenom yang ada pun produk chemical from overseas lah, radiate wash. Jadi ada isu lead time, cost. Untuk local punya produk setakat ni kita pun tak jumpa lagi. And then the challenge also requirement client juga, chemical ni supposed to be environmental friendly ataupun kita boleh katakan biodegradable ke. Maknanya bila dah kita clean ataupun guna untuk decon, that waste tu kita boleh entertain sebagai domestic waste lah, and bukan schedule waste. Maknanya kena hantar ke kualiti alam sebab high cost. Baru ni kami baru habis projek dengan Petronas Gas Berhad. Kita buat chemical cleaning dapat dalam 28 IBC tank. So cost untuk disposal 28 IBC tank tu cecah dalam 400 ke 500 ribu. So kalau kita boleh offer some treatment ataupun use the chemical yang environmental friendly, so dia akan reduce cost for the client. And one more issue juga, dekat market ada juga chemical yang declare sebagai environmental friendly, tapi bila dia react dengan mercury, tenom, sludge sebagainya, last kali dia akan jadi not environmental friendly lah, sebab ada contaminate dengan schedule waste punya item, bypass product. Jadi lastly pun bukan environmental friendly juga lah. Itu di downstream lah. Untuk upstream pun sama. Upstream kalau kita boleh propose satu portable treatment unit, contohnya mercury removal unit yang portable, tapi bukan sekarang untuk mercury, boleh guna untuk LEL, untuk benzin juga. So benda tu akan reducekan cost untuk client dispose, sebab bila kita treat, achieve some PL ataupun kita follow DOE standard B requirement, so kita boleh discharge dekat on board sahaja. Okay, so ini antara yang kita nampak sekarang lah, sebab well dekat belah semenanjung ni getting old lah, dah makin tua. So most of platform yang dulunya tak ada benzin H2S dah mula detected and have a significant reading. So nak tak nak memang in terms of safety memang quite crucial lah untuk client minta feedback daripada industri expert dan juga akademik lah, kalau kita boleh tengok.
So actually banyak isu waste and it is related to chemistry lah. Banyak
Ya
yang
betul.
boleh
Ya.
fikirkan lah bersama.
Sejak tragedi Sungai Kim ni, the enforcement lebih tegas lah kan.
Okay.
Kan.
It's very good lah kan.
Tapi macam yang saya bagi tahu, klien pun looking for the cost. Sebab bila makin stringent ni, cost dia orang makin naik.
Betul.
That's why kita kena offer solution yang win-win. Maknanya kalau kita boleh produce chemicals yang biodegradable and less punya hazard, so lagi diorang happy lah for that.
Betul.
Termasuk juga yang macam Cik Ani inform tadi, government punya policy looking at 2050 zero carbon emission kan, 2050 kan, tapi Petronas dah letak target 2030. So the first platform yang diorang dah buat ialah dekat NC3 dekat Sarawak. Dia dah mula install some teknologi supaya tidak ada emission. So sekarang dah tak ada flare lah. Tak ada yang cerobong api yang bakar keluar, tak ada. So dia dah start. And then juga diorang dah start on remote platform. Maknanya ada setengah platform dia yang dulu ada manpower, sekarang dah zero manpower. Maknanya all the monitoring datang daripada downstream lah. Cuma bila ada breakdown baru dia akan hantar team maintenance pergi ke platform. Setengah platform dah jadi unmanned.
Oh, okay.
Sebab sekarang ni dah towards for artificial intelligence AI. So dia dah control daripada mother platform ataupun daripada darat lah, fiskat darat.
Okay. Saya open kepada yang lain. Mungkin
saya nak tanya Encik Syamsuri ke tadi yang present?
Ya, saya.
I wanted to ask you about the method that you use for removal of contaminants. You were saying that you use mechanical and chemical mode. Don't you think another method could also be considered, which is physical method, using materials such as porous materials? Have it been tried? Ataupun macam mana
Porous material ni maksudnya apa?
Yeah, it can be anything. It can be like macam sabut ke, from from carbon materials that have high porosity, that is very inert, that you can actually synthesize it from waste biomass, through the carbonization process, and for example, you can use palm kernel shell, and then you burn it at high temperature, it turns into carbon materials, and this material has high pores, and so that is quite also hydrophobic, so it's only selected, will selectively absorb hydrocarbons. So I'm just thinking that whether this approach has been utilized by your company. Besides carbon, we also can there are also other materials such as silica, alumina, and even zeolite has also been reported to be efficient in removing waste contaminants. Have you been have your company been tried using these materials for removal of contaminants?
Okay, setakat ni our company tak pernah menggunakan organic punya materials lah, and for the cleaning. The reason sekarang ni tak ada proven punya teknologi lagi. And secondly, if you want to use, kena ada kuantiti yang banyak dan sejauh mana dia punya effectiveness, dia punya reaction tu, kecepatan tindak balas. Sebab bila kita buat aktiviti, contoh bila turnaround ataupun shutdown, the aktiviti maintenance, kita akan time is very crucial lah. Kita akan kejar masa. So that's why most of teknologi sekarang ni chemical memang chemical yang paling berbahaya, itulah yang paling cepat react. Kadang kalau chemical yang kita ada try chemical yang kata organik tapi dia punya respons agak perlahan lah, agak slow. So benda tu memang we cannot tolerate lah for that. So biasanya activity maintenance ni masa shutdown. Kemudian yang kedua, untuk saya clearkan sikit, untuk aktiviti tank cleaning ataupun vessel cleaning yang ada contaminants inside the vessel, ia mula-mula kita akan buat secara online circulation, online cleaning. Hanya kita inject chemical, then dia akan circulate ataupun dia akan react dengan steam untuk capture the hazardous gas. Kita dah dapat PL yang kita nak, and then kita akan open vessel and continue with the chemical cleaning and also the mechanical. Chemical means ni kita akan spray the chemical lah. Kita akan spray chemical. So kalau contoh kalau berminyak, oily, slush, kita akan tembak degreaser dulu. Kita ada in the market degreaser yang organik dan kita try tapi dia punya effectiveness tu agak perlahan lah kan. Compare dengan yang chemical yang non-organik, memang bila tembak je memang terus boleh menghakis, membuang skill tu. Okay. And then bila dah dapat all that waste tu, and then kita kumpulkan dalam HDPE drums and ready for dispose. So the main issue ialah bila drums tu banyak, waste tu banyak, so dia akan create cost for disposal lah. Even kita pernah bawa yang organik punya chemical pun, last kali dia akan jadi hazardous secondary waste juga sebab dia dah react dengan slush inside the vessel. Okay. And then untuk spillage ataupun contaminants yang ada dekat luar yang spill for activity maintenance tu, untuk mercury kita ada teknologi daripada US juga, luar negara, dia memperkenalkan gel. So that gel dia akan spray on the floor and the gel tu akan capture, pegang all the mercury, dia akan pegang mercury, and then bila kita nak remove, kita just take out the gel and put in the drum. Lebih mudah lah, instead of kita nak collect one by one, kena mercury, pecah gari ke dan sebagainya, atau vacuum. So using the organic, contoh macam sebut coconut shell ke coconut fiber, semua tu memang kita tak pernah guna lagi lah setakat ni.
Okay, mungkin saya boleh tambah sedikit kot ya. Aja dia mention just now, the time frame is crucial ya. Example offshore shutdown, dia bagi you seminggu je, 7 hari. So actually dia bagi you mechanical day, example 2 hari, 3 hari for you to handle all the waste ya. Before another mechanical work activity, example untuk repair and so on, because they cannot shut down too long. This is talking about national energy, and on top of that, in fact, they exported all the product to Thailand, to Vietnam kan, so they cannot have a long shutdown. You lambat, you kena penalty some more. So cuma apa yang saya nampak, mungkin because the current chemical is very much into to stabilize for safely manage the waste tu kan, bukannya actually remove and isolate the waste, bukan. So mungkin kalau betul-betul universiti ada good product, kita boleh go another treatment untuk recycle activity after the shutdown. Dia tak ada involve shutdown. So we collect the waste, the number of waste tu kita bawa kat darat dan kita do treatment kat darat before kita dispose. So some will be disposed, some will be what you call it, kita treat the thing kan. So there will be minimize cost into the waste disposal. Kalau ada proven chemical yang boleh improve that processes, then mungkin kita boleh propose pada klien lah.
Cuma saya nak tanya juga, bila macam certain things kita ada standard lah yang perlu kita comply ya. Kalau ada innovation pun biasanya pengalaman dululah, maknanya kena being tested by the company dulu. Macam mana baru clients of your clients will agree to accept the innovation.
Okay, Prof. There's two things, Prof. Satu
Hmm.
yang facilities ataupun asset, ya. So if involve the online process, then definitely kena ada proof teknologi ataupun proof tested dekat other location, accepted by the other industry and so on. You're talking about, in example, CO2 removal punya technologies, kan? You just cannot give your solution untuk dia test without sharing with them, telling them your equipment spec. Tapi talking about yang offline punya processes, contoh macam waste treatment and so on, kan? Because benda tu dah di dua sistem, ya. So itu benda yang tidak melibatkan proses and risk yang tinggi lah. Mungkin industri boleh consider. Mungkin tak buat dalam big scale, kita boleh buat dalam small scale, dan kita boleh invite client untuk involve the trial. Once kita dah confirm the product capability, then generally bila dia impress dengan the result, instead of dispose ke kualiti alam, kita boleh recycle the thing to another product dan minimize disposal punya waste. It's a cost saving for them. Why not? Okay, Prof.
Ya, faham. Ni
Boleh share ke chemical yang digunakan for removal ni?
Kita boleh share je, tak ada masalah. Boleh communicate dengan Raja. Kita boleh bagi pun produk. Actually, you all boleh buat macam fingerprint pun. Kan understand the current product, then offer the equivalent dengan produk overseas, an example, yang lebih cepat dan lebih economically lebih baik, kan? Why not?
Yep.
Kira macam apa panggil, reverse balik lah, tengok apa dia
Yeah.
punya trade secret. Okay, so soalan kita dah 3:40. Sementara tu saya nak tanya sikit lah, ini pelajar-pelajar, yalah kita sekarang educate pelajar. Jadi apakah harapan daripada oil and gas industry ni? Apa maklumat ataupun knowledge terbaru yang perlu kita bagi kepada pelajar-pelajar ni? Mungkin kita pun lost jugalah, kan? Mereka ni chemist, bukan engineering kan, tapi sekarang ni kita perlu kerjasama dengan engineer as well. Tapi apakah what kind of knowledge that we should equip the students before they go out? Boleh technical juga ataupun bukan technical juga. Pandangan orang senior ni lah.
Okay, I think China already mentioned just now, talking about multi-skill, kan? Multi-skill.
Yeah.
Because generally, Prof, sekarang ni, macam mana nak utilize the small energy for big values. Yeah. Okay. You have one candidate with multi-skill, they be able to deliver a lot of productivity instead of one particular candidate yang only be able to do one or two deliverable. So of course, employers akan look into the people yang willing to do more. Again, so generally apa yang saya nak share lah as an senior dalam industri ni, budak-budak sekarang ni manja lah, apa Prof? Manja sangat. Kita dulu mula-mula UDPS kita set up, bila kita terima apa dipanggil pekerja yang cepat resign ni, setahun 2 tahun resign, setahun 2 tahun, kita rasa sedih tau. kita dah train, kita dah dapat chemist, dah dapat certain certification, generally akan decide to move into another organisation. Tapi sekarang ni kita dah fikir lain lah, itu part of kita punya responsibility. Cuma apa yang saya nak mention, kita kena ada student, kita kena have group of student yang understand the industry need, understand the employment issues, understand the what do you call it, the challenges, lagi-lagi talking about employment issues sekarang ni kan. Kalau dia ada extra knowledge, multi skill and sebagainya, generally dia akan lebih banyak opportunities, because today's people talking about minimizing people, minimizing number of people by having alternative resources, IoT and so on kan. Tapi kalau kita ada, tapi still looking of people, competent people. Tapi kalau dia ada multi skill yang be able to do any job. Kalau saya nak share, mungkin Prof pernah dengar kan, small company dulu-dulu kan, bila kita company kecil, kita ada tak ramai pekerja, kita boleh ada pekerja yang multi skill, semua dia boleh buat, because of the limitation of the organisation, company itu sendiri. Dia tak berkira pun, dia kerja pekerja 5-6 orang, tapi dia boleh produce bombastic punya result, even sale kan. Tapi bila company getting bigger and bigger kan, they need to have specific task, specific role, responsibility and so on. Then actually dia akan jadi the other way around. Dia tak dapat produce result yang bagus. Because dia nak macam specific task, specific responsibility, that kind of thing kan. At the end of the day, dia tak jadi multi skill, even though they have size of activity, tapi because of tak apa macam Cik Aini tadi cakap tadi apa, dia tak agile kan. Dia so fokus into dia punya kerja saja, dia tak boleh nak buat kerja-kerja lain. Then make industry difficult to decide lah.
Dia ikut manual je.
Pun dalam manual pun Prof, kita encourage multi skill apa semua. Tapi dia still focus into dia panggil apa, single task ataupun minimum task lah. Dia tak nak too many.
Betul. Faham.
The situation with students ni, masa I dekat DuPont, I use a lot of interview because I was taking care of ASEAN group. Students ni, I tengok our country students, I tak compare lain, they are rigid in whatever dia punya background study, they may graduation, they may degree, they're very rigid on it. They're very focused. They don't have the agility to flex themselves on other areas that the industry might need. Let's say a chemical engineer might able to do some other chemical things, or mechanical can do partially electrical, dia boleh buat lain. They don't see that actually. Masa interview ramai our people, and but the moment I interview people from Thailand, they are more agile. Okay, I remember interviewing a person who is a mechanical engineer, honest, and he has another diploma doing agriculture and food management. So with the moment he did that, when we interviewed him, one of our panels was looking at it and saying that, immediately told him, we have an opening in DuPont Food and Science. So with the technical background in the food agriculture punya management in terms of soil studies and all that, He was offered the job right there and then,
Oh.
compared to the rest.
Hmm.
And there comes another lady. Ini Thai, Thai. Dia punya English very basic. You tahu lah Thai ni punya English ni macam hijau kuning kan orang panggil kan. Very basic English ya. Dia major in biology. Ni biology ya. But then she specialized in apa ni software programming juga.
Oh.
So you nampak tak, from bio going to software programming, and then the moment we had the interview, then this type of people were immediately offered. And dia punya software programming, she was doing part-time working in a small company sambil dia study. So dia punya drive of effort tu, the initiative dia yang convince yang dekat DuPont that this is the future. This is the people that can drive the company. But the Malaysian students, Malaysian people bila interview kita kat DuPont, interview kat KL Central, we were very disappointed. Very disappointed. I don't tell you which universities they come from, but we are very disappointed. Seriously disappointed. They say that they are focusing in this area because they foresee this is the specialization that is going to grow in the next 5 years. They're telling us that. So they're very one track kan. Dia tak agile, dia tak flexible. Bila kita offer, do you plan that we can offer you doing something else in pesticides? Katalah pesticides kan. Because DuPont pesticide is quite popular in the world. But there is technical pesticide research. Dia boleh cakap, I'm not really interested in pesticide. So, ni I think Haji Kamarul was talking about budak-budak kita mungkin manja, pampered, betul lah. Because I went through that interview session, which is, I saw the big difference lah. My advice kalau students that are graduating, they have to put the extra effort, not by studying, but common sense will tell them to go out there, to expose in different industry, buat sijil ke, certificate ke on their own, go and work part-time kedai-kedai yang macam something different. That will help them. That will help actually, because they'll get more exposure out there. Bukan maknanya tu usah concentrate study, tak. But in order to prepare them with elevated skills and multi-skills. So the moment dia masuk interview, with that degree, this exposure, ni ada benda ni, ada pula certification lain, I think any employer will be very impressed. Because why? It's not because the certification, dia punya effort initiative tu. That is my advice lah for the students. Ni orang tua-tua punya advice ni dia dah go through dah.
Ni advice untuk academician pula. Advise us how to educate the young, not to say the youngsters, our future leaders ni.
The educate is one thing because you guys are competent, professional in doing it lah. Yeah. But for me, for the academicians, if you have time, if the university allows for you to get attachment with certain industry few months and work around it.
Yeah.
Then when you go back to your students, you see the real world and you tell them, then you can really interpret what is in the book and education and what is really there. You can integrate. The student will listen to that. They will respect that. Because hands-on kan, dia panggil kan. And current trend of the world, there's a lot of things changing. Things change, you know, even IT is changing like crazy kan. Macam-macam sekarang dah keluar kan. New license, new applications, macam-macam sampai dah jadi cyber security lah sekarang. So jadi macam ni kan. So that's my 2 cents worth of recommendation lah. Tu aja lah.
Okay, any more question?
Prof, mungkin saya boleh tambah sikit, Prof.
Yeah.
I think you all ada macam degree student yang 4 tahun, mungkin master student yang 5-6 tahun kan. Maybe you university kena plan on how to equip the student with all the added values from the leadership up to the safety. Other than dia punya core discipline lah. Maybe some exposure, that kind of thing. Then make our student dia akan really prepared to interface the industry. Dia faham industri punya ni kan, because dia dah commingle, dia dah have some engagement. On top of that, dia dah ada leadership understanding, they understand the management expectation. And on top of that, they also understand the safety requirement regard to the discipline they have involved, that kind of thing. Benda-benda tu dia boleh dapat even before they embark into the industry kan.
Exposure lah ya. Exposure.
Exposure. Not only exposure, Prof. I mean the basic necessity. Basic necessity, leadership, communication skill, the safety training required by the industry and so on. Benda tu kita boleh dapat masa during the graduation kan, before the graduation. So that you imagine ada student tu dia dah ada safety passport, dia dah ada leadership training program, dah bekerja dengan industry for few time example, then they apply kerja. Chances dia untuk dapat memang lebih baik daripada yang lain.
Okay. Right. So saya rasa we are approaching 4 o'clock. Yeah. So I think if it is possible lah, because this is our first program with industry for this year, untuk jawatankuasa ni saya mohonlah kalau dapat kita kenangan untuk bergambar. Bukan senang nak dapat orang busy-busy ni. Boleh? Mungkin Cik Raja boleh close the slide, then we can take pictures. Kalau tak dapat nak buka pun at least ada nama dan muka lah. Alright. Kepada partisipan yang di luar fakulti, nanti boleh contact saya lah personally untuk dapat orang Okay, so ready ya. So tak ramai pun. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, sekali lagi lah. Ada yang baru buka video. Right. So saya mengucapkan berbanyak terima kasih lah kepada Cik Ainil, Tuan Haji Kamarul, Raja daripada upstream downstream yang sudi memberikan masa mereka. Kita faham industri ni banyak sangat meeting, time is actually very valuable. Tapi kita perlulah adakan juga sesi sebegini untuk kita tengok apakah masalah sebenar. Pengalaman saya pun pergi ke upstream downstream dekat Terengganu, baru faham macam ni. Sebenarnya kita tak adalah shot sendiri buat kerja di makmal. Sebenarnya dia tak tak menjawab masalah sebenar kan. Jadi bila saya dapat tu, tapi sayangnya bila dah tahu tu umur pun dah lanjut juga. Jadi kepada researcher yang muda ni mungkin boleh melawat industri, tengok apa masalah sebenar, baru kita start masak-masak di makmal lah, ataupun buat apa di makmal. Sebab kadang-kadang kita tak faham apa masalah sebenar. Sebab lagi satu, petroleum ni is a big, yalah, macam Cik Ani cakap, is our main income. So kalau kita tak tolong, tak bantu, jadi mungkin tak tahulah kan. It is our country's main income, among the main income. So saya ingin mengucapkan lagi sekali lah terima kasih, dan juga kepada partisipan saya ucapkan terima kasih sesi kita hari ini, dan insyaAllah kita akan adakan lagi sesi dengan industri. Jadi harapnya kalau berminat boleh contact. Terima kasih banyak. Assalamualaikum. Boleh go through saya lah. Okay, terima kasih.
Terima kasih.